Hey, aloha everyone. Michelle Melendez with Blossom Inner Wellness and StandTogetherHawaii.com. I'm really excited about this interview today with David Hauser. He is an author. He's been studying who runs the world, who runs this country. He's exposing them in his book that is about the great COV, and then after that is ID reset. And have to do that stealth-wise because this platform will take a lot of things around that issue off. So, David, thank you so much for joining me.
Pleasure to be with you today.
So I just want to remind everyone, the sponsor of this channel who supports the work I do is aceofcoins.com. If you want to help with your taxes, eliminate your tax debt, buy Bitcoin tax-free, license your biometric data, please check out aceofcoins.com. And a shout out to the Voice of Kona Radio, who always puts my messages out on the airs on the Big Island. So if you're listening on the Big Island, mahalo so much for joining me. So, David, this is a topic that is really near and dear to my heart because it's something that I started studying around who runs the not only the United States of America the United States Corporation, I should say, but actually who runs the world. And you reached out to me, sent me your book. I'm just very, very impressed by it. What was your journey in finding out what the heck is going on around here? Because this is not a free country anymore.
Well, my journey began a long time ago when I just set the truth as my compass. That's my true north. That's what guides my life. I I studied critical think. I went to college to study critical thinking skills, and it's not what you learn, but to learn how to think,
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
and then you can take it from there. So um, and I was applying some critical thinking skills to just when COVID first came on. I knew it was coming. I already knew it was coming because
So we have to just be
Google.
careful of that word. Just a reminder. We have to
Oh,
be very
okay.
careful of that whole scenario
Can I
of
just
what
say C19? Would that be okay?
just say the 19. I mean,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I've gotten so many videos taken down. I've gotten strikes. I've gotten all kinds of
Gotcha.
stuff off of the channel.
Uh,
So,
Hey 19, that's a great Steely Dan song. So we're just going to call it Hey 19. And yeah, I mean, I knew it was coming before it came because Google announced it, and I was studying Google because Google is the biggest threat to human consciousness in the world, in my opinion. Uh, there's metadata and some other things, AI things, but Google, Alphabet are the primary big hitters behind um, this debasement of human consciousness. And but when it did arrive, I warned everybody it was coming, and then it came, and I was just kind of going along. Um, and when President Trump announced Operation Warp Speed and that it was going to be a military um, operation, that's when I really knew it was going to be a serious issue and not just another bird flu or things they've tried many times over the past couple decades. I knew this was going to be, they pulled the trigger on Hey 19, and there's no going back. If you've noticed since
yeah.
that time, everything there is no going back, and it's only pedal to the metal from here on out. At
Mhm.
least for our lifetimes or our generation.
So
So,
let's go back a little bit in history
mhm,
because for people to understand who the Jesuits are, and then we're also going to talk about the Zionists. Um, you have to understand Rome. You got to
yeah,
understand the Catholic Church and
that's right.
the Protestant Reformation. So let me just
Yeah.
do a quick little background, and then I'll get it back over to you.
You betcha.
Throughout the Dark Ages, the Catholic Church there ran. the world, ran Rome, ran Europe. And then what happened was there was a priest named Martin Luther who had a conscience, and he realized that the teachings of the Catholic Church were not what God had intended for people, and he started to expose the fact that people could get to God through just themselves. They didn't need a priest, and that was started the Christian Reformation, the Protestant Reformation. And the Catholic Church wanted to stop it. So they created the Jesuit order and the Jesuit order. So I'm just going to give it back to you because you're the expert on this. And I started learning about this just a few years ago when an accident happened. And I say accident because I was divinely guided to this
Yes.
book called Unmask the Enemy Within by Bill Hughes. And it
Oh yeah.
blew the doors off of my freaking building.
Mhm.
I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been trying to find because
Yeah.
I kept asking the universe, what is going on? What is real? What is real? Why is America dying
Mm,
on the vine? And
yeah.
when I read this book, I was like, oh my goodness. So
Pastor
giving it
Bill
back to you.
Hughes does great work. He greatly influenced my book. And yeah, total acknowledgments out to Bill Hughes for his body of work. Great body of
Mhm.
work. So yes, the Roman Catholic wasn't Church wasn't sure how to deal with this, and there was someone by the name of Ignatius Loyola
Who was crazy,
who
man.
was the he's the founder of Jesuitism. Before him, there was no Jesuitism. There was the Roman Catholic Church, which, like you said, controlled the Black Ages. Rome never died, never failed, never fell. They faked their death, which they have done many times. They faked their death, and they did something called, now they just call it the Dark Ages, which is absurd. Nothing happened for 1,000 years.
Mhm.
And no, a lot of horrible things happened in 1,000 years, which is exposed in my next book, um, revealing our falsified history.
Mhm.
But what Ignatius Loyola did was he presented to the Pope the idea of, we're going to create a militia under the guise of the Catholic Church. In
Mhm.
other words, underneath the robes of Christianity, we are going to use that as a front. And that's our front door, but we're going to have a back door that's going to be a militia, because we're going to have to work like a clandestine operation, a secret org, and to do secret things, like poisoning people. They've been poisoning people since 1540. The Jesuits love poison.
Mhm.
The Hay 19 is just their latest version, but they've been doing it consistently for centuries all over the world. Um, so that was the founding of the Jesuit order in 1540. And so that got the ball rolling. And they created havoc in the way that only they are trained to do throughout Europe for centuries, and
Yeah.
were expelled in 59 countries. The Jesuits have been expelled in 59 countries over
Yeah.
their
I want to just
tenure.
Yes, because that you guys have to understand is they were infiltrating all the monarchs in all the countries. Sorry, I'm sitting on the ground and there's something just crawled up my foot, so I'm gonna put my feet up. But but they got expelled because they were found out they tried to assassinate, I believe it was the King of Portugal. Is that right? And that's when they started getting expelled from they got expelled from France, Madrid, and all the other places. And then what was amazing was that the Pope Clementon,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he actually he was gonna dissolve the order, and he got murdered by poison the day before he was going to sign the order for them. But then that was in 1773, and then America got its independence in 1776 while the Jesuits order was gone. And then the Jesuit got reestablished in 1781, right? Or was it, is
Yeah.
that right? Yeah.
Yeah. At that time, the Jesuits pulled another fake death because the heat was so intense in Europe. They had to kind of pretend that they were folded, which was just a thing to go underground and regroup and reorganize until the heat kind of cooled down a little bit. And during that time, um, Pope Ricci, Ricci, came into power, and he is the mastermind and the founder of the United States of America. He is the one who came to the United States, um, and fomented. This was a mastermind in Jesuitism. Was they fomented, like they do all war. I don't know about all war, but a great majority of war in our world is fomented by the Jesuits,
Yeah. Who
historically and more currently by Zionists. But for centuries, it was the Jesuits. And see, they had a masterpiece in the American Revolutionary War, which they hired different people. John Adams is considered a patriot. Well, he was owned by the Jesuits. They bought him. And he's the one that started fomenting. He tried a lot of different things. They tried the Stamp Act. Oh, we're being taxed on stamps. Let's rebel. Well, nobody cared because the economy was thriving, because we did have a thriving economy in America for, since the Pilgrims got here,
Mhm.
since the original white Anglo people came to America because they were escaping Europe and religious persecution. They came
That's
and
right.
they had a Geneva Bible and they practiced for several generations. They had,
Mhm.
and they created great wealth, and everything was great. And these little um, false flags were not flying until Ricci had the great idea, said, well, let's bring some Catholic bishops, archbishops to America. And when that was mentioned, that's what got the attentions of the colonial people living in America, because they were like, no, not that, because we know what happens with that. So now
Mhm.
they were engaged, and now they had the attention of the Catholic Church. And that's what really got things going. But what they did was they fomented the American Revolutionary War, which had Protestants killing Protestants. And that is the Jesuit mission. We got to go back
Mhm.
and really look at the secret oath of the Jesuit order, which is the most esoteric book in the world, in my opinion. And it clearly spells out the Jesuit mission, which is to rule the world. It is the new world
Under
order.
the Pope, to give it back to the Pope.
To give it back to the Pope, and to, I mean, it's the same as today, the Vatican and the Pope. I mean,
Mhm.
we're at the same place, except we've also got the Jewish Zionist element today, where before we didn't. But
So how did they come in? Because I always hear Stu Peters, it's the Jews, and that is not my belief. Because I
yeah,
have Jewish friends, and they're amazing, and they're not part of this plot to
right,
destroy America. But there are Zionists, and there are also fake Jews. Because people need to know that Rothschild, that wasn't his first last name. That wasn't his original
exactly.
last name. His original last name was Mayer,
Yeah,
Mauer, Mauer. He was German, not Jewish. And so he actually changed his name to Rothschild. There was a whole story about Red Shield, and it's a big old long story, but I won't go into that. But his
yeah,
true last name is not Rothschild. So it's not a Jewish name, it's a German name.
that's
So
right. That's right. Well,
yeah.
it's a whole hijacked movement that has
Hmm.
nothing to do with Judaism. And so, but that's a whole other can of worms. And I'm going to suggest we really kind of wait till later, because
Okay.
we're going to really get off the Jesuit track, which is
Okay.
what we're kind of covering today.
And I want to let people to know, if you guys want a free copy, I found it online, of the Unmask the Enemy Within. Just go to my website, Blossom Inner Wellness, join the private membership, and you can get it for free in the Freedom School. There's a ton of information in that free Freedom School, and it's free to join the private membership, blossominnerwellness.com. And in the Freedom School, you'll see this PDF that I found online. Somebody did it, not me, and it's of the Unmask the Enemy Within, because you cannot find this book and it was magically showed up at this antique store that I go to, that's on the other side of the island, that I randomly went to and found these books, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it is available at blossominnerwellness.com. So go ahead, back to you on the Jesuits.
Well, what a beautiful gift that is, and what a beautiful divine intervention that is. So that's great. So what they did was they masterminded and fomented the American Revolutionary War, which had Protestants killing Protestants. Jesuits win every time. The Catholics win every time the Protestants are killing the Protestants.
That's right.
So we had a massive loss of we all these wars. We have no idea what the real figures are at
Yeah,
all.
well,
I
they
want to make
also instigated the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, all of it. These people are evil demons.
well. This is why it's important to understand Jesuitism because I'm under the impression that most people in the world do not understand evil. They really don't. They have an impression of what evil is, but they really do not understand what it is. And until you understand what evil is, and until you actually understand the foundational principles of Jesuitism, it's very difficult to understand the world you're living in today. And a lot
Mm.
of people do not understand, they think there's a disconnect between history and what's happening in today's headlines.
So,
No,
David, your video's going in and out. I don't know if you know that.
yeah, I did
It's
notice that.
okay.
Nothing could be
Okay.
further than the truth
That's right.
of, I mean, literally each headline. Uh, it's very good to understand Jesuitism, to take the time to understand and learn Jesuitism, because then you're not going to waste time not understanding the headlines, the daily headlines. I could give you so many examples. I mean, for me, um, just yesterday, just Sunday, we had President Trump at the Caesar Dome, the Roman Caesar Dome in New Orleans. And there's a lot of talk about Trump being the new Caesar and this Roman thing. And then people are like, what's that about? I mean, what that's Rome? That fell 500 years ago. Well, when you understand Jesuitism, you'll understand, for one, your president is a Jesuit.
And
Okay.
I
He
know
is
that
a
that's
great.
going to probably piss some people off because I've always had people when I've told them, I said I said the Rothschild has a quote. Rothschild has a quote. When the people want a hero, we will give them one. And it's really
They've
hard to
got
believe
one.
because he's done some really great things and he actually looks like he's cleaning the swamp. I mean, it looks great, except for the fact that you
Exactly.
can't tell other countries you're going to take them over. He tells Greenland, we're going to
Well,
take him over. Canada, we're going to take you over. And we're going to go over
uh,
The Gaza area.
that's
And I'm just like, what the? You
all
can't.
all these declarations are quite Romanesque in that dictatorship. It is a This is how, once Rome had the empire to a certain state, to a certain a geographical area, they had so much power that he was able to become a dictator and dictate such things as Trump is dictating today. And well, he attended Jesuit Fordham University in New York City. Now, at the last year, they had him graduate from Pennsylvania University, which is a Jesuit university in disguise. But still, so we don't know. But look, I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I get that. Um, the thing you got to understand about the Jesuits is all their universities, the Jesuits are first and foremost known for their education. They're
Mhm.
they're the ones that really developed universities and colleges with which to brainwash people. And they knew if they developed the curriculums that they would control the mind and they would control the people. And so their universities and colleges are unmatched in the world to this day. They are at a whole other level of education.
Mhm.
They have been for centuries. And you look at the alumni of Georgetown University, many presidents, many CIA directors, many of the most evil people in the world. If you want to find them, look at the alumni of the Jesuit universities, because that's where they come from. But
Yeah, so
so
and I
once
just
you
wanna tell people.
understand
Go
once you
ahead.
understand the Jesuitism, you understand you don't have to waste time with the headlines. Like for instance, when the FBI raided Mar-Lago, Trump's home in Florida, I had to spend 5 minutes on that story, and I understood it to be Jesuit political theater. I know it right off the bat. When they
Mhm,
did the assassination, I had to spend 10 minutes investigating that, and I knew it was Jesuit political theater. And you save so much time once you understand how the principles of Jesuitism operate and their love of theater, and this is
mhm.
all political theater, then
Exactly
you're
like the
not
court case.
confused anymore.
Like
What?
the court case with Trump. I was like, "You guys, this is a
Yeah,
movie. This is a
exactly.
movie. This is what they want us to look at, and they want us to get really upset. They love our reaction. They love to throw stuff at us to get our reactions. This is
Yeah,
why this is why a transvestite went into kindergarten classes to
right.
do the story time because they knew
Exactly.
people would be up in arms. This is
Yeah,
why they put these pedophilia bringing books into schools because they knew parents would be outraged by it. That's what they want. They want to get our goat.
yeah,
So,
and exactly, and but when you see that, knowing what Jesuitism is, you also know that as soon as they present LGBTQ, the next president is going to sign something and get rid of it because it is nothing. It's nothing. It's not based on any reality. It's just theater. It's not real at all. I mean, there might be 1,000th of 1 in 1,000 people that's actually confused about their sexual gender, but it's a non-issue, and when you see it being introduced, it's a non-issue. I mean, as soon as Jordan Peterson came up with the pronouns and all that stuff, I know he's controlled opposition. I know it right off the bat. And he is a Jesuit adjunct. He is not an official Jesuit, but they have him under their wings. And you can just see it. You see it. I mean, you can spot this stuff very quickly if you take the time to understand what Jesuitism is and how it operates. And in order to really do that, you have to avail yourself to the secret oath of the Jesuits. And I cover that pretty thoroughly in the beginning of that
and
book.
that's really easy to find. In fact, I'm just going to look it up really quick because it is something that is horrendous for one. The
Oh,
National
God,
Library of
yes.
Australia, the Jesuit
Okay.
Oath, and I've actually shared this once before on a video, but the
Yeah.
Jesuit Oath, this is like really old piece of paper that it's written on. I'm just
Yeah.
going to read some of it. I now, in the presence of the Almighty God, the Blessed Virgin Mary, the Blessed Michael, the Archangel, the Blessed Saint John the Baptist, and my ghostly father, the Superior General of the Society of Jesus, that's what they call themselves, founded by Saint Ignatius Loyola, sorry if I'm messing it up, do by the womb of the Virgin swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice regent and is the true and only head of the Catholic or Universal Church. I do now renounce and disown any allegiance is due to any hierarchical king, prince, or state named Protestant or liberal or obedience to any of the laws of or magistrates or offices. I do further declare, let me get down to let me get down to the ruthless stuff. I do furthermore promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make a wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals. And I am directed to extirpate them from the face of the earth, and then I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, or bury alive those infamous heretics. This is, and then it goes into some just really disgusting things that it talks about. And then here's the poison. I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulating cords, the steel of the. This is just keeps going on and on and on. So
Yeah.
if you guys don't believe us, just look up Jesuit Oath. Just put in Jesuit Oath in the URL, and this was from the National Library of Australia that I was reading from. So these people are absolutely evil, and this is another reason why it's hard for Americans or people around the world to believe in this, that this evil group has literally taken over the world, because
Mm.
we have hearts. We're human beings. We love each other. That's why they got away with what they got away with, because we don't want to, in all essence, we don't want to hurt each other. And it's hard for people to absolutely believe that this absolute evil has literally taken over and is running the world. And let me just tell people, you guys, a Jesuit, who was it? It was Pike. It was something Pike. He actually, I believe it was him that wrote the three world wars before they happened. They're like, let's have a plan to create three world wars, and by the third world war, we'll rule the world.
Yeah.
He actually created it and designed it. The first one was with Russia to
Yeah.
overcome the Tsar. The second one was with Hitler. Then the third one is with the Arabs and the Muslims and Israel. So it was written prior to World War I, you guys, prior.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. One of the major advantages that Jesuitism has over the rest of the world is that they use time to their advantage.
mhm,
One thing, I mean, I don't want to call them wise, but they're very intelligent. But they plan things, as you just noted, very, very, very far in advance. Look, this New
100
World
years.
Order was founded in 1540, and it has not deviated at all. It has remained focused for centuries. And I mean, they plan things far in advance. The rest of the world's getting by, we're making next month's mortgage payment.
Mhm.
No, these people go at the very minimum by one generation. Anything major is at least planned 20 years in advance. And they use this time to their great advantage. They study everything from every angle. And then they have a default plan. Well, what happens when this plan gets busted? Then we're going to revert to plan B and to plan C. And it's all done in the only think tank in the world, which is the Vatican Library. It is the only library in the world. And there's a big fat wall and a lock and key to make sure that you don't know what's going on inside of it.
And it's stories deep. It's stories down. You
Yeah.
can't get to it. You can't even see it.
Yeah.
So yeah. So David, is there any
But
hope for America, for the world? I mean, I
well,
believe in God. I believe there is a divine creator, and I believe that this is a game we came to play
yeah.
for this time in our life.
Well, it's a little too late in my opinion. I think we're in for a lot of trouble coming up here. I don't want to say there's no hope. I think the most effective thing that like an everyday citizen can do, and it's really incumbent upon you, citizen, if you're interested in freedom and living a free life, what's left of it. This is something it's incumbent upon you to do. You need to go down to your county sheriff office. You need to learn about the county sheriff program. The county sheriff has more power than the United States president. The county sheriff is extremely powerful. You need to understand what his powers are, what his deputizing powers are, how he can empower his fellow citizens within his county, and how once we have a constitutional sheriff in office, you are really protected. I mean, it is mind-boggling how much power these people have. And um, Sheriff Richard Mack is the co-founder of this movement, and he's the go-to guy. You can just, look him up and he'll get you to the web pages and the appropriate information. But yeah, go down, make sure that if you don't have a constitutional sheriff, a sheriff that is absolutely committed to upholding the United States Constitution, Then you got to make sure. Then you got to do a grassroots election, make sure that the next get him impeached, and or wait till the next election and get one in there if we have that much time. But that is something every citizen can do that is remarkably empowering and protecting you and your family and your home and your community. So I wouldn't say there's, what can we do? I think that's the most important people thing that people can do.
So, the fact that they've corporatized all people through the birth certificate, would you say that it's also important to understand that system and to start to live outside the system? Would that help?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I think that, you know, once you got a constitutional sheriff, you can cut through whatever needs to be cut through in your particular county, because each specific area is facing different threats from different angles. And so this really makes it your backyard and what's happening to you, because California is facing different crises than New York, even though it's
Mhm.
all run by the Jesuits. I mean, Jesuit Governor Newsom of California, or
Oh,
Jesuit
very much,
Governor
yeah.
Cuomo of New York, or Jesuit, Governor Ducey of Arizona, whatever. You all have different issues. But those counties within those states, I mean, I think that's the best way to address it. What you were referring to, that's all unconstitutional. That's all against the law, all that stuff. So
That's right, yeah.
yeah, so this constitutional sheriff can just cut right through all of that.
Cool.
See? So I think this is I think that's the best thing that people can do.
Okay,
People, the other thing that I just want to comment on is, see, nobody knows about Jesuitism because they have all these different names for it.
that's
See,
right.
they call it, see, it's a very secretive order. So it's always called by a different name. Now, in Russia,
Illuminati, the Sons
it
of
was
Loyola.
communism. In the United States, it's capitalism.
Mhm.
In other Canada, they call it socialism. All these isms are covers for Jesuitism, but the most honest description for all of it is terrorism. It's terrorism. It always has been. Some a little more blatant than others, but this new, relatively speaking, new fold of Zionism, which has only been around, a little over 100 years, is was founded in terrorism, born of terrorism, and is a full-blown terrorist state.
Is Zionists the same as Jesuits? Are they a faction of them?
No, I look at evil as a two-sided coin. The first side of the coin, and the first side that was minted was Jesuitism in 1540, with the secret oath of the Jesuits and the spiritual exercises of Ignatius Loyola. That's the first side, and that
Let me just tell you
carried,
guys, I just want to jump in here.
yeah,
This man, Ignatius Loyola, was a crazy man.
oh
He
yeah,
was so he was a monk that was so he like meditated and did all these things for days. He did self flag how do you say that?
flagellation.
Flagellation. I mean, he just had he would get visions, which I think are some type of demon, I think, because this man was crazy, and he actually got booted out of the priesthood numerous times because he was crazy. And then he kept going and kept going. Is very tenacious, and then he finally was able to create people that actually followed him. And he's literally, I think he's demon. I think he was demon possessed because this man was off his rocker. But anyway, go back to the Zionists. How did they come in if the Jesuits are they're not the
Mhm.
Jesuits?
Yeah, they're not the Jesuits, but they work in conjunction with each other. Um, Jesuitism is more secretive. They, you know, they work under the guise of communism or
They actually created
socialism.
communism. They created it in Paraguay. It was the first communist
Yeah,
camp.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. And they poisoned those. They poisoned those Americans in Paraguay. Um, Now the Zionists was really got going with the production with the publication of something called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. I think that
Mm,
was like 1911 or maybe
that's right.
1913.
Now
So,
but is that true? Is that because I've been reading things like this isn't true and then this is true and it
well, it
was
was published and you can read it. I mean, you can download it for
yeah, I
free.
have it. I have a copy of it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like the blueprint of, it kind of updates things. It kind of updates the evil intentions, and it's just like a branch. It branched out, and and they're not as secretive. They're more, well, you can look at Zionism today and the Israel Defense Forces, they will publish they cut the heads off of babies and they put it on certain internet platforms. You can go to Telegram or some other places on the internet and watch them celebrate the beheading of babies. Um, so they're not
Interesting.
secretive. See, they're doing genocide, ethnic cleansings, and publishing and dancing in glee at their actions. Um, so again, just like these Israeli defense forces. So you're thinking, well, how are these people even human? You got to understand, these people have been subjected to the Israeli Department of Education propaganda since they were babies. These people have been so thoroughly brainwashed of what it is to be human, and the evil hatred has been so indoctrinated into their consciousness that it almost is cyborg. It is almost like they're not even of the same race as we are. Um, and you really need to look into those early curriculums, those early Zionist educational curriculums, and you can see, um, even you or I, Michelle, would not be able to survive if
Mm-mm.
we were born into that.
Yeah.
We had no chance of critical thinking skills. The indoctrinations are extreme, they're severe, they're relentless, and this Zionist movement is an extremely dangerous movement. I don't know how much we want to get into this. Maybe, I think my next book really kind of gets into it, but I'll just say, um, give people something to think about. This declaration just to take Gaza, the Gaza Strip, maybe some people think, well, that's just a small piece of real estate in the Middle East. So what? We've been taking countries there for decades. No, this is by far the most dangerous thing facing humanity. This is a nuclear detonation waiting to explode. And trust me, its explosion is the goal. They want World War III. They want to
Yeah, they do.
depopulate the world. And Trump is right on track. This is not um, a small little piece of real estate. This is the entire Arab world, centuries of culture,
Hmm.
all bottled up in this Gaza Strip.
Hmm. Yeah.
And it will not be allowed to happen. It's going to start World War III. I mean, if Trump brings U.S. forces over there and it begins it, it's good. Iran is going to be engaged, and their allies, Russia and China,
Hmm.
both of which are militaristically superior to the United States. The United States will get blown off the face of the map. They won't have a chance. And Putin has already publicly announced that they won't be left with any chance but to detonate their Mach 10 missiles, of which there's no
Oh,
chance.
you just broke up, David.
And
You just broke
Putin
up. Say that
also
again.
stated that he
Can you
does,
say that again? Because you just broke up. Your whole thing broke up. Say
okay,
that one more time. Putin.
sure.
Start with Putin.
Well, I was referring to the dangers associated with this taking of the Gaza Strip. And if they actually go forward in that declaration, um, some people may claim it's blind. It's not blind. They know exactly what they're doing. They're instigating World War III, which will be a nuclear war, um, because it's going to entail the entire Arab nation and culture. primarily Iran, which has nuclear capabilities, but furthermore, their allies, both Russia and China, are militaristically, they are, more advanced than the United States today. And Putin has publicly announced, he's gone on and publicly already announced that they won't be left with any other option other than to detonate that Mach 10 missile, which is indefensible. Which is, he also said, that's why I can come online and warn you about it. And he said, I will warn the civilian people of the United States before I detonate it because I don't want to kill any civilians. I am only going to take out the military installations and the defense contractors that are manufacturing the weapons. And I will give advance notice to allow all civilians to evacuate those parts of the country. And um, so, anyway, that's what's going on with the Gaza Strip. The Zionists are just itching at it. Benjamin Netanyahu he's the most dangerous person in the world, and he is he's worked his whole life for this moment, and they're literally one button away from killing a whole bunch of people. I mean, the Georgia Guidestones say they want to take it down. We're at about 8 billion right now. They want to take it down to about a half a billion or 500
Jeez.
million. Um,
That's
so
that's a
it's
lot of
about
lost
one
life.
sixteenth of the human population would be left. So it's 15 out of 16 of us is the goal. And I'll tell you, they are really knocking at the door here. Um, they're not going to back down because the Arab nations know if Israel and the United States gain foothold in Palestine, they have their base. Then Palestine is going to be a U.S. military base,
Hmm.
and they know from there it's just the Greater Israel plan, and from there, I mean, it's a major threat to both China and Russia. They're not going to
Hmm.
allow it to happen. They also need to keep all those waterways open for their own oil and various supply chain needs. They're not going to allow it to happen. So they're fomenting World War III, which is what
Hmm.
Jesuits do.
Hmm.
And like you said, Trump is doing a lot of great things.
Yep.
He's doing this, he's saying that, but I got to tell you, that's all Hegelian dialect. For example, Trump says, "Oh, we're going to cut income taxes." A lot of people think, "Yay, that's going to solve our financial, challenges." Well, no. Hegelian dialect is proposing a problem that appears as a solution, but actually only furthers their agenda. Now, in this case, the solution is tariff economy. Well, yeah, we had a tariff economy when we made things, when we were a major manufacturing base. We had made many great products
Yep.
and we did trade. And a lot of the countries in the world did want what we make.
Yeah.
A tariff based economy in 2020 is a joke. We don't make anything. We have
Yeah,
some
that's right.
services, we have some technological things. We don't make anything. Nobody needs our what we make. Nobody wants what we make. We cannot compete in the international marketplace with anything we make. It is going to be a complete collapse of the US economy. So that's Hegelian dialect. So and that's just a fundamental foundation of Jesuitism. They've been using it for centuries. And see, that's what I mean by understanding Jesuitism. Once you understand Jesuitism, you know the headline and you see through it. Oh, no income tax is the headline. Well, guess what? You got to go to the next step and extrapolate and see. They are doing nothing to help you. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he would help some people over here. Look, the devil doesn't just show up with his, flame torture. He shows up with hey, little girl, come into the fan. I have some candy, right? I mean, they'll always show you 3 parts strong before they bring on the 4 parts weak.
Mhm.
The devil, that's how Jesuitism and that's how evil operates. They always present as good while actually being evil. So,
So why is it this push around the Jews? Like, why are there so many people saying it's the Jews? Because the Zionists and the Jesuits, they don't, it's like, what's up with that?
well, that's propaganda to get people to have the conversation that we're having now. See, those are the controlled opposition forces that keep on slipping that into the lexicon to throw you off. Look,
That's right, yeah.
Bob Dylan is a Jew. He wrote Masters of War. I mean, the greatest anti-war song ever written. So that's just another thing to kind of deflect, confuse, muddy up the
Deflect, yeah.
waters, so to
Which
speak.
all of it is, which the whole thing with the transgender stuff, that's all. Like even today with here, with what's happening on the islands, they're actually wanting
Uh,
to revoke people's religious exemption, parents' religious
yeah,
exemption to
yeah,
vaccinate their children, and
I saw
everybody's up
that.
in aurora around that. But these islands have been, in my opinion, they are definitely run by the mafia, and the Jesuit order because what's happening with our governor, he's so taken over. I mean, he was put
Yeah,
in place. People go, "Oh, well, you guys voted him in." No, actually, our elections are so messed up here that
mm, yeah,
unbelievably, I mean, so blatantly obvious
yeah.
that elections do not work in the Hawaiian Islands.
Well,
That's just obvious.
unfortunately, your geographical positioning has made Hawaii vulnerable.
Hmm.
Look, if that was on the mainland, you guys would have probably got more support around Lahaina. It's like, but you're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Hmm.
I mean, you're defenseless.
Yeah,
You guys are you've been turned into a prison state. And
correct.
it's because of your geographical location. And don't you think that they knew that going in when they
Yeah.
picked Lahaina for that operation? Who's going to do anything about it? I would have loved to join the fight. But, what the hell are we going to do? We're thousands of miles away.
Hmm.
You're there, you're doing something, and God bless you. But um, yeah, with your geographical positioning, boy, you guys are very vulnerable there.
Yeah. So that's why I always pray to God because I have to believe in divine intervention. I have to believe that we each decided to come here at this time in history to
Yeah.
do our part to bring back light and love because this evil can't like stay in power for eternity. That's not I don't believe that that's why we're here. So
Hmm.
I do believe that there is a consciousness of love that has brought you to do your work, your kuleana of writing these books. And how can people find you? How can people find your books?
Well, thank you. Sadly, with Amazon censoring my book, exposing the truth behind the great K-19 reset, um, I can't sell it there. And then my website was having issues being shadow banned and so forth. I'm setting up a whole new operation, my brand new book, which is revealing our falsified history.
Hmm.
That is, it's going to be published next month, and there'll be a brand new website for that. And I believe the website, I'll give it, it's www.revealingourfalsifiedhistory.com.
Revealing our
And
falsified
maybe you can have a
history.com.
link to
Hmm.
that
Sure.
on the bottom. And if you want to know exactly when that's going to be coming up, you could email me, and I would give you a heads up. My
Okay, I'll
email
put your
is,
email in the description as well so people can reach out to you if they want
yeah, you can
to learn
reach
more.
out, and then as soon as it comes out, I'll send you the publishing blurb and let you know it's available. It'll have a book description, and you'll know if that's something you want to know more about. Now, that book is unbelievably interesting, in my mind. Just to give you a little teaser, look, if they have falsified our news, which I think, most people on this channel realize they have,
Hmm.
imagine what they have done to our history.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, you won't have to imagine it when you get this book. half the book is photographs, and photographs that are mind bending, mind blowing. They blew my mind. And that's not easy to do. When I was a kid, I ate LSD like candy. I mean, um, but this stuff blew my mind. Our history. Now, you mentioned, is there any hope? Any hope? I'm gonna just, maybe we can end on this positive note for
Mhm.
today.
Good.
But when you discover our history, and not that I have all the answers. I mean, a lot of it's hidden, but I do expose enough to know, like, what we've been told is a pile of shit. And the truth behind that pile of shit is something incredible and amazing and beautiful. I'll let you know, there was a history, a human history in this world. I don't know exactly when, but not that long ago. I mean, as possibly as little as 300 years ago, that encompassed all continents, meaning most all of humanity. And there is absolute, irrefutable evidence that humanity lived in harmony.
Yeah,
And we were way more advanced than
that's
we
right.
are today, way more advanced. Our technologies were way more advanced. We had free electricity, we had
We
free
did.
energy, we had domes of free energetic healing, we had,
That's why I
uh,
think this is done. That's why I think these people, even though it looks
mhm,
like we're going to go into some major hardship, and we maybe we will, but I do
yeah,
believe it's going to come around. It's going to come back because one thing is they need people to live in fear, because when we are in fear, we are easily controlled and our frequency is lower. And that's why they poison our food and they poison our air and they poison our water, because if we were all clean and we had a good food and we raised our frequency, then we are way more powerful, because the frequency of our bodies is like a battery, and we can actually manifest things. And like, well, the pyramids just alone, that shows the amount of technology that was free energy. How they made the pyramids was through frequency and vibration. So it
right,
is absolutely an amazing piece of technology that was once really
yeah,
available to all people. So I
yeah,
absolutely 100% agree with you, David. And thank you so much for joining me. The sun is actually coming my way. So um, I'd love to end on that, and we'll do a quick prayer because I do believe in the infinite creator. So
absolutely. Thank you.
let's do that. Infinite Creator, Great Spirit of all things, you are running the tides in the ocean. You are moving the sun across the sky. You're beating our hearts and you're breathing our bodies. And Great Spirit, infinite intelligence of love, the frequency of light, which surrounds every single cell of our body, which is in and throughout the empty space that we walk through. This frequency field that we walk through is
Mhm,
love, is a frequency of light. And Great Spirit, we just know that this is the time of awakening, that people are learning what is truly happening in this world, and we are saying no to it. We are calling in the frequency of light and love around the planet right now, that all those who do not value human life, who do not value freedom, who do not value people's property, that they are bound by the frequency of light and love, that they cannot do any more harm. And we call forth right now, Great Spirit, a divine intervention, that no more weapons work to harm people, and that those people who do not value the human life, the life of living men and living women, of our children, that they are removed from power. Great Spirit, we call it forth right now. We don't know how it's going to happen, but we give it to you, and we know that it is done. We call forth angels, legions and legions of angels that surround all of us right now, that are supporting us, that are guiding us, because we are truly never, never alone. We call them forth right now, Great Spirit, to do what is theirs to do, to bring back the light, the love, and the harmony that was once this earth. where people lived together in love and in harmony together with each other and with nature. We call that forth now. We call that future, that present time here now. And so it is. David,
So
thank
be
you
it.
so much for joining me. I'm now in the light of frequency of love, sending you so much light and love and protection for all the work that you're doing. Really, really appreciate your time today.
I'm feeling it. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.
Okay, aloha everyone. BlossomInnerWellness.com. David's link to email him is in the description. And if you want to get that free PDF of Unmasking the Enemy Within, go to BlossomInnerWellness.com. Much aloha.